Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. The topic for this week is called, It's Okay to Be Where You Are. A few weeks ago, a woman came to my depression support group who was quite distraught. She had been dealing with the depressive episode for about 6 months, but now anxiety had reared its ugly head. She said, I could deal with the depression by itself, but the depression and anxiety, it's just too much. And then she went on to say that she was having suicidal thoughts and may need to be hospitalized. Seeing how distraught Jennifer was, one of the group members said, Jennifer, I can see you're in a lot of pain, but it's really okay to be where you are. And Jennifer said, why? I feel so ashamed of myself. Tom responded, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't cause this depression. See if you could just say to yourself, despite the pain I'm feeling, it's okay. I'm okay. Accepting your condition will be the first step in allowing it to change. It's a paradox, but when we accept reality, then it can start to change. But first we have to accept where we are. What Tom was talking about is the principle of something called radical acceptance. Author Tara Brach, who wrote the book on the subject, says that radical acceptance has two parts. First, she says, it's an honest acknowledgement of what is going on inside of you and a courageous willingness to be with life in the present moment, just as it is. In essence, radical acceptance means accepting and allowing. Radical acceptance of a condition does not mean that you are passive. It doesn't mean you sit around and do nothing. Neither will you always have to feel this way. It just means doing everything you can to change the situation while at the same time accepting the fact that you are where you are. In the therapy known as dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, the idea of being able to hold two opposing views simultaneously is called learning to think dialectically. This means that we see the universe as composed of opposing forces, and at the same time, it's possible that things which are opposite can be true at the same time. For example, a person might be gentle, but also could be tough. Another person could be very independent, but also need people. Therefore, we can accept reality as it is and still want to change it. One of my favorite passages from literature that beautifully describes dialectic thinking as holding of two opposites simultaneously is the beginning lines of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. Getting back to Jennifer's story, I said to her, another way of being okay is to accept that this is the place where life has brought you. This place that you're in is where you're supposed to be in a way. There's a higher purpose for this. There's some reason you're going through this. And if you can just hang in there and bear it out, you will get better. And in retrospect, you'll be able to see what the purpose was and why you had to go through this pain. Now, if this seems too difficult to do right now, myself and the rest of the group members can hold this vision for you, that you will have the faith to know that one day this will pass. I was not speaking here out of theory or speculation. I had only to look back a year ago when I was in a really bad depressive episode. At that time, I couldn't see any purpose in it. I couldn't see why I had to continue to endure this pain. But in retrospect, as I look back, I can see that the experience did have a purpose. First, I learned the important truth once again that this too shall pass. And second, my understanding for what people who go through depression, what they're experiencing, I've become more compassionate and more empathetic for what people have to go through. And so going through that depressive episode has made me a better writer, a better counselor, and a better group facilitator. As the group continued to encourage Jennifer to accept her circumstances the best she could, she was able to relax a bit and stop pushing against the pain of depression. And as she relaxed, I could notice some kind of calm coming over her face and her body. Now, this didn't take away the pain, but it basically allowed her to relax enough so that she was in a lot less distress than when she first came into the meeting. And eventually, she did get the help she needed. She went into something called intensive outpatient therapy, 5 days a week. That was enough to kind of stop the slide downhill, and eventually she came out of it. So the acceptance of where you are is the first step to healing and changing. As paradoxical as that might seem, that really is true, and that's been my experience and the experience of many of my clients. This has been Douglas Bloch. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening to it or watching it. If you want to leave me some feedback, you can do so in the comments section, or you can email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you want to learn more about my work, you can go to my website, healingfromdepression.com, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or simply click on the links in the closing credits. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in accepting where you are and pursuing your mental health recovery. Thank you.